Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to welcome our special guest, Suzanne Rostock. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
My first question, who is Suzanne Rostock?
You know, nobody has asked me that question since college. I am a documentary filmmaker. I've been working with documentary films since I graduated from NYU Graduate Film School in 1972, so you can do the math on that one. I have started out making my own films and living off of grants, and I was always very interested in human rights and the arts and combining the two, the power of art to transform and change the world. And so all the films I've worked on have been in that realm. And after some years of living off of grants and shooting and directing and editing my own films, I started to edit other people's work. Michael Apted, for example, he and I have worked together for over 20 years, done many documentaries with him. I sort of stayed in the area of editing because it just took so long to raise money to do films, and I wasn't in a position to be able to support myself without working. Sing Your Song actually brings me back to directing, which is thrilling to me at this point because there's so many films I want to make going forward, and this will give me the opportunity to do that.
And for all the listeners out there, Sing Your Song is your film. It's a documentary, and it features Harry Belafonte. But before that, I want to kind of go back a little. What was life like growing up, and what films did you enjoy?
Well, I grew up in New York, and I grew up with two parents who were European Jewish Marxist doctors, and our house was always full of artists, and my parents were passionate about film. The first film that got me very excited about filmmaking was actually Fellini's 8½, and I think I was 12. But moving on from there, I think that Battle of Algiers was the film that really focused what I wanted to do with film. And I was lucky in the years that I was at NYU. Leo Hurwitz was the director of the school, and he had made many amazing films in the 30s about politics and art and human rights issues. So I had a good nurturing experience in graduate school. The films that influence me now are very varied, but I'm a huge fan of Agnes Varda and the way she is able to tell stories about life.
And now getting to the film Sing Your Song, first of all, I have to say congratulations.
Thank you.
It is a beautiful movie. When did you first become aware of Mr. Harry Belafonte?
I've always known about Harry Belafonte first as a performer, and I think having spent so much very close and intimate, wonderful time with Harry over the years, everyone approaches him. I mean, millions of people approach him with the same thing that I'm going to say now, saying the same thing I'm going to say now, is that my parents loved you, and I grew up listening to your music and dancing to your music in my living room. And so many people know him as this amazing performer and this joyous spirit. And I knew him because of my political activism, of his social activism. But I didn't really know the great extent to which he was so influential in the way our world has been shaped until I started making this film. So I had many surprises.
What you just said, it's recalled a lot of conversations I've had recently with fans of his. A lot of people become aware of him through his music, and then they find out about the work that he's done with social activism. And then there's a lot of people, vice versa. They say, oh, are you kidding me? You didn't become a fan of Harry Belafonte because of the amazing work he did? I found out about the music later, which it's been very interesting.
That is interesting.
So when you met Mr. Belafonte, what was your first impression?
You know, he's probably one of the most charismatic people on the planet. I don't think anybody will argue that. So I was charmed by him and moved by his sincerity. And, you know, so often when you meet people, they're very anxious to tell you all about themselves, but he's so genuinely interested in the world and everyone in it, so you could actually have a conversation with him, not just sit there and listen to a monologue. So I was so captivated by him, and I was, of course, honored to be asked to be involved with this project, or to see if I would be interested in being involved. And we spoke for many, many, many hours, 5 hours, endless cups of tea and cookies. He's a big cookie eater. Toward the end of the conversation, he took my hand, and his eyes just filled with tears. He said, "I'm so troubled. At this point in my life, I'm just so worried that I haven't passed the baton, that we haven't set the stage for the next chapter in life, and where we should be going as a people." I was so moved by that, and I shared with him an experience I had when I was 15, because I wanted to march with Martin Luther King from Selma to Montgomery, and I wanted to do that more than anything in the world. And my parents didn't let me go down from New York. They felt it was too dangerous, but I felt so connected to the movement, and there was a movement, and there were great leaders. And my friends and I, worked so hard, even at a young age, to try to be a part of it. And I have a teenage daughter who I see is so filled with the same passion that I was filled with at that time, and she and her friends so want to make a difference in the world and put an end to injustice and inhumanity, and they don't know where to turn. And I saw in that moment of Harry's teary revelation of his fears that maybe he and I could put together a film that could be the roadmap for the future. So I took the film on for my daughter and her friends, and I really tried to shape the film so that it would speak to young people, so that it would capture their imagination and ignite them, and fill them with hope, too, hope and a desire to get up there and do something.
This film, Sing Your Song, something that I had thought many times over the years, I had thought there is no book about Harry Belafonte. There is no film about Harry Belafonte. Why is it that you think that there has been so little in terms of books or in terms of any kind of output about him, considering the amazing work that he's done in so many different parts of our culture, not just the arts, but also, as we discussed, the social activism?
Well, I think when you watch the film, you see how under the radar he kept himself. He was really behind the scenes in terms of his social activism. He was a motivator. He was absolutely physically active and there in a very, as I said, behind-the-scenes way. And so most people don't know about that part of his life. And in terms of why no one has made written a book or made a film about Harry up to this point, I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't really know.
The title of this film is Sing Your Song.
Right.
I was hoping you could tell the listeners, how was the title of that film selected?
Harry actually has always wanted to call the film Sing Your Song. It came from a statement that was made to him by Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson was a very close friend of Harry's. And very, very early in Harry's career, just at the very, very beginning, Harry was performing at the Village Vanguard. Paul Robeson was in the audience. He heard him sing. And he came backstage, Paul Robeson came backstage after Harry's performance and said to Harry, "If you can get them to sing your song, they will know who you are." And that statement resonated. And that's why Harry felt the film should be called Sing Your Song. I think the title of his book is My Song. It has great meaning to him. I was concerned about the title because until you hear the Paul Robeson story attached to it, I felt that the title could be very misleading. It sounds a little bit like the group Up With People, or Karen Carpenter had a song called Sing Your Song. And I didn't know if it would really evoke the power of the story that the film holds.
There is a lot of music in this film. You get to hear a lot of songs, and along the way, you kind of see the music complementing what was going on. He used music many times to broadcast a deeper message. So as a result of being exposed to the music, do you have a favorite song from Mr. Belafonte's discography?
I love so many of his songs at different times of the day. Now, I was shopping in Trader Joe's on Monday, all of a sudden, Hold 'Em Joe came on, which was a very, very early song that he did, and there's a hilarious performance of his in the film where he comes out with a donkey and the June Taylor dancers, and Harry's very young, and the donkey's very unruly, and Harry's, this is his great opportunity to sing on national television, and he has to fight the donkey, and it's such a joyful and hilarious scene, and that song suddenly came on a million years later, and that song always just fills me with such laughter. All the songs that he recorded with Miriam Makeba move me to tears. They're just so incredible. Everything in between, I find myself singing his music often. It just a different song pops into my head. I think it would be wonderful, and I know Harry wanted to do this at one point, is to re-record a lot of his music, but with contemporary performers, with rappers. He was trying to do a good rap version of Deo, and I found an old version that he had recorded in Jamaica with some Jamaican rappers of Man Smart, Woman Smarter, that I think would be a huge hit today. And I wanted to bring that one back. I had it in the film at one point, but I took it out because the film was getting too long, so you had to make some sacrifices. But it might be on the DVD extras.
Very, very interesting. So, in general, what was it like making the film? What was it like emotionally? What was it like intellectually?
Well, emotionally, it was such a roller coaster, ride, and it took me to places that I had been before but never experienced quite this way, and to see the movement, and actually to see what Harry's life was like, the struggles that he had to be the artist that he is, and to be the humanitarian, and the obstacles, the outrageous obstacles, just reminded me every day how far we haven't come yet, how much further we have to go. And so emotionally and intellectually, it really affected me the same way. I felt challenged every day to answer for my own behavior in life, take more responsibility, although I thought I had been, but, then you watch the life of Harry Belafonte and you realize, it's interesting. We had a premiere at the Apollo this past Thursday, a week ago, actually. Exactly a week ago. And it was so great. I had always imagined this film being shown in the Apollo, and it was like bringing the story home. Harry grew up in Harlem, and the audience was fantastic, and people were cheering at different points. And afterwards, there were some celebrities in the audience. Brendan Fraser was there, and I went up to him just to share a story with him that we had experienced together many, many years ago. But I went up to him and I, reintroduced myself after many years. He said, I originally didn't really feel like coming to see this film. Who wants to see a film about an 84-year-old man? And he said, I had no idea. And when the film was over, I was so moved beyond belief. And I said to myself, Brendan Fraser, get up off your sorry ass and do something. And this is something that I've heard from from young people, I've shown it to many college students and high school students, and especially the college students, one after another would come up and say, I was thinking of taking a gap year, or I really had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and I was kind of just cruising through college. And after seeing this film, I said, we're out of time. I have to do something, person after person, and that's been my hope for the film. But I also wanted the film to be entertaining and passionate and funny. And, it's such a challenge to make these films and have them not feel like medicine that tastes sour, but it's good for you. So, take it. Hopefully I've succeeded in creating a film that can reach many.
What is your favorite part in the film?
One of my favorite parts is when Harry is visiting convicts in a prison in California, and he comes upon a man who's playing a guitar and starts singing the blues. And this man actually, I didn't put this story in the film, but he actually makes guitars, and he made the guitar he was playing. And he has a beautiful voice and singing to Harry, and then all of a sudden Harry joins in and sings the blues in a way like you've never heard them. And it's just such a powerful moment to me. And him, of course, seeing Mandela seeing Mandela for the first time. We found the footage of Harry seeing, because Harry corresponded with Mandela while he was in prison, and Harry was such a fighter against apartheid, and for so many years, and was even arrested for demonstrating against apartheid. When he and Mandela finally met, when you see Mandela going over to Harry, and there's no sound on the footage, but Harry said, and then Mandela said to me, "Harry boy," and you see Mandela mouthing that, and it's just a beautiful, powerful moment for me.
Great part of the movie. When a viewer sees this film, Sing Your Song, what do you want the viewer to get out of the experience of watching the movie?
I want the viewer to have a better understanding of history, of what came before, of, what's past this prologue, to learn from what came before, and to be inspired to really, even the smallest gesture can make a huge difference. And if we all did something every day, as Harry's mother said, in the beginning of the film, Harry's always lived by the words of his mother that, do not go to sleep at night without doing something each day to fight against injustice. That's what I want people to get out of the film. I want people to be inspired by Harry's life. I want people to feel hope and not feel helpless and not feel victimized. So that, we all have the power to do something. And I want people to understand the power of art. That it's a very powerful medium, all the arts, and that we really can change the world. It's possible.
My last question. We have listeners from all over the world. What do you want to say to all the people who are listening in? Totally open-ended.
That you're not alone, that your voices are being heard, that even though there don't seem to be leaders around for movements, so you can see what's happening all over the world, even down on Wall Street, that these leaderless movements are burgeoning, and that we can be in charge of our destiny, that we don't have to be victimized anymore. And I know Harry and Gina Belafonte, his daughter, and I are working on another film called Another Night in the Free World, and that's exactly what we want to address in that film.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to point you all to the website. For more information, you can visit singyoursongthemovie.com.
And it's airing on HBO starting this coming Monday, October 17th at 10 o'clock, and then they will be running it a lot. I don't have all the dates, but if you check the HBO website, you can see that. So please watch it. That would be wonderful.
I imagine it'll be available at some point on DVD?
Yes. We're hoping for that. Yes.
I can say this interview's been a real pleasure for me.
Oh, thank you for me, too. Thank you for asking me to speak.
Anything to get the word out about this film.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Get some sleep.